Ladies and gentlemen, collectors, dreamers, and treasure hunters, welcome to True Coin Value. Now, before you scroll past or click away, let me ask you something life-changing. What if right now, hidden inside an old jar in your grandfather's attic, or buried deep in a dusty coin album at a flea market, there was a tiny piece of metal no bigger than your thumbnail, but worth more than a luxury mansion? I'm not talking about fiction. I'm not talking about fairy tales. I'm talking about real coins with real value in today's auction market, where collectors are battling tooth and nail, driving prices into the stratosphere. This is not just history. This is not just currency. These are treasures, rare artifacts of American heritage that are so valuable, holding one in your hand is like holding lightning in a bottle. And tonight, I'm going to reveal 6 Buffalo nickels, 6 coins so ultra-rare, so breathtakingly valuable that each one could transform your life overnight. Stay with me until the very end, because the deeper we go into this list, the wilder it gets. And trust me, by the time you hear about our final coin, you'll never look at pocket change the same way again. This is True Coin Value. We bring you trust, we bring you the facts, we bring you daily fresh updates on the treasures hiding in plain sight. And today's episode is one for the history books. So grab your seat, take a deep breath, and let's dive into the world of legendary Buffalo nickels. Coin number 1. Now, let's start our journey with a masterpiece that has stunned collectors across America and beyond. The 1927 Buffalo nickel without a mint mark, appearing with mysterious brown dot patterns in extra fine condition. At first glance, it may look like just another nickel. 5 cents. A coin people tossed in jukeboxes and soda machines nearly a century ago. But behind its simple face lies a storm of history, artistry, and scarcity that has turned this very nickel into one of the most sought-after treasures in today's auction market. Let's talk history first. The Buffalo nickel series, minted from 1913 to 1938, is one of the most iconic and beloved coin designs in U.S. history. Created by sculptor James Earl Fraser, it was meant to symbolize the rugged spirit of America, the proud Native American portrait on the obverse, and the mighty American bison on the reverse. Unlike ordinary coins, these were not just minted to be used, they were minted to tell a story. And the 1927 issue, that's where things get fascinating. This particular coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which is why it carries no mint mark. The absence of that tiny letter instantly sets it apart. But it's not just the lack of a mint mark that collectors obsess over. It's the rare condition and the unusual brown dot toning that developed over nearly a century. Those patterns, created by the coin's natural aging and exposure, make each surviving piece absolutely unique. No two are alike. Now, rarity. The truth is, most 1927 nickels were circulated hard. They jingled in the pockets of farmers, factory workers, and soldiers. By the time they were pulled out of circulation, most were worn down to flat, featureless discs. That's why finding one in extra fine condition, with the portrait details sharp, the buffalo's horn visible, and the surfaces still crisp, that's like finding a diamond in a desert of dust. Collectors crave this exact condition. The higher the grade, the more ferocious the bidding wars become at auction houses. And this particular 1927 nickel, with its mesmerizing brown dots, is the kind of specimen that stops serious collectors dead in their tracks. And here comes the part you've been waiting for, the current market value. Friends, brace yourselves. This single 1927 Buffalo nickel, without mint mark, in extra fine condition, right now commands a jaw-dropping $165,000 in today's market. That's not hype. That's the truth. That's the price serious collectors are already paying. Imagine holding that kind of wealth in something that fits between your fingers. We're not talking about pocket change anymore. We're talking about a treasure chest compressed into a single coin. This is the kind of discovery that could rewrite your financial future overnight. And the value? It's not static. It's not slowing down. The market for rare buffalo nickels is climbing year by year. Wait just a little longer and you'll see it rise again, because these treasures are in such high demand and the supply is only shrinking. If you ever come across one of these, treat it like the crown jewel it is. Protect it, cherish it, and never underestimate the power of this coin. So here's a tip for collectors. Always pay close attention to buffalo nickels from the 1920s. Look at the details. The strike quality, the luster, the toning, the horn on the buffalo, the cheekbone of the Native American. These subtle features can skyrocket a coin's value from ordinary pocket change to extraordinary fortune. And if you're lucky enough to find one in excellent condition, you may just be holding your ticket to a collector's dream. This coin is not just a piece of metal. It's a piece of American history. It's a bridge to the past, and it's a fortune in your present. Owning one is like having a time machine that also happens to be a treasure chest. Next up, now that we've uncovered the jaw-dropping story of the 1927 no-mint mark buffalo nickel, it's time to move deeper into the vault of treasures. And trust me, this next coin is going to send shivers down your spine, because what I'm about to show you is not just rare, it's a shining beacon of perfection. I'm talking about the 1936 buffalo nickel with the Denver Mint mark, preserved in absolutely uncirculated condition. Picture this. Nearly 90 years ago, at the height of the Great Depression, ordinary people were scraping together pennies to put food on the table. Coins weren't sitting in vaults or display cases. They were in circulation, passing hand to hand, worn down by the struggles of everyday life. But against all odds, a few precious survivors managed to escape the touch of time. And one of those survivors is this 1936 Denver Mint buffalo nickel, frozen in a state of mint glory, as if it rolled off the press yesterday. Let's talk history. By 1936, the buffalo nickel had already become a symbol of rugged American resilience. Designed by James Earl Fraser, the Native American profile on the obverse wasn't based on one person. It was a composite of several real-life chiefs, giving it a powerful authenticity. Flip it over and you see the proud bison, a living symbol of America's frontier spirit. These weren't just coins, they were miniature sculptures, carrying the soul of a nation. Now, here's where rarity takes center stage. The Denver Mint, marked with a tiny D, produced millions of coins in 1936. But here's the catch. Almost all of them were immediately tossed into circulation. Farmers, factory workers, soldiers, everyone spent them until the details faded into oblivion. That's why finding one today in uncirculated condition, completely untouched, crisp, and shimmering with original mint luster, is a miracle. It's like discovering a time capsule sealed in 1936 and opened fresh in your hands. Every detail is razor sharp. The feathers in the Native American's hair gleam with definition. The buffalo's horn, hump, and tail are crisp, full of life. And the surfaces? Smooth, glowing, untouched by wear. This is not just a coin. This is perfection locked in metal. And collectors know it. They chase it, they fight for it, they bid until the room shakes, because this coin in this condition is one of the holy grails of the Buffalo Nickel series. So now, let's talk value. Get ready, because this is where the story transforms from passion into power. The 1936 D Buffalo Nickel, in uncirculated condition, commands an astonishing $140,500 in today's market. Yes, you heard me right. $140,500 for a 5-cent piece that most people would overlook. That is not fiction. That is today's truth, confirmed in auction records and collector sales. And the trajectory of this coin's value? It's climbing. Slowly, steadily, relentlessly climbing. Because every year, as time moves forward, the number of surviving uncirculated specimens only shrinks. But the demand? The demand is skyrocketing. This isn't just a coin. This is a treasure vault in your pocket. Owning one is like holding a shining diamond of numismatics, a gem that connects you to America's history and at the same time plants wealth firmly in your hands. If you were to discover one today, you wouldn't just be lucky, you'd be standing at the gateway to a life-changing fortune. And here's a tip for collectors. When you examine buffalo nickels, especially those from the mid-1930s, always check for mint marks. That tiny D on the reverse side, just to the right of the buffalo, is the detail that separates ordinary from extraordinary. Combine that with condition, and you have the key to unlocking staggering value. My advice? Handle every 1936 nickel you come across with reverence. Look at it under good light. Study the details. And if you're blessed enough to find one with sharp features and untouched brilliance, protect it like the rare jewel it is. Because this coin, my friends, is proof that sometimes the smallest things can hold the biggest treasures. The 1936 D Buffalo nickel in uncirculated condition is not just money. It's power, its history, and its fortune, all wrapped into one shining artifact. Next up, we've already uncovered 2 breathtaking buffalo nickels worth 6 figures each. And just when you think it can't get more astonishing, we arrive at coin number 3. And let me tell you, this one is shrouded in mystery, beauty, and raw collector demand, unlike almost anything else you'll see in the world of rare coinage. I'm talking about the 1925 Buffalo nickel with the San Francisco S mint mark, in very fine condition and with the fascinating black dot toning that makes every collector stop and stare. Now let's step back into history. The year is 1925. America is roaring with jazz, flappers, speakeasies, and booming industry, but at the same time, coins are being churned out of US mints to keep the economy flowing. Out west, at the San Francisco Mint, buffalo nickels were struck with a tiny S to mark their origin. And here's the secret. San Francisco nickels of this era were struck in smaller numbers compared to Philadelphia or Denver. That already puts the 1925 S in a rarer category from the start. But rarity doesn't end with mintage numbers. Most of these coins were tossed into circulation immediately. They were spent in grocery stores, passed across saloon bars, jingled in the pockets of farmers and railroad workers. Decade after decade, the fine details wore away until most examples became little more than blank discs of nickel. That's why finding a 1925 S today, with strong details still visible, in very fine condition, is nothing short of a miracle. Now let's talk about what makes this specific coin truly unique, the black dot toning. Over the course of nearly a century, certain coins develop toning patterns caused by natural reactions of the metal with air, moisture, and the environment. While some collectors prize rainbow toning or golden hues, this coin is marked with subtle black dot toning, creating a mysterious, almost fingerprint-like pattern that makes it unmistakably one of a kind. It's not damage, it's beauty, a story written by time itself. That black dot pattern is like a signature of history, proving the coin's authenticity and individuality. No other coin on Earth looks exactly the same. Collectors go crazy for these unique toning patterns because they add character and increase desirability. This isn't just a 1925S nickel, it's the 1925S nickel with its own personality, its own face in the crowd. And here's where things get even more extraordinary. In today's market, the 1925S Buffalo nickel with black dot toning in very fine condition is commanding a staggering $173,000. Yes, you heard that correctly. $173,000 for a 5-cent piece that most people once spent without a second thought. This is not hype. This is fact. Auction houses are seeing collectors open their vaults, pouring fortunes onto the table just to secure a coin like this. Because they know something critical. The market value of rare Buffalo nickels is not slowing down. It's climbing year after year, like a rocket without brakes. Today, it's $173,000. Tomorrow, who knows, it could be even higher. Wait for time, and you'll see this treasure grow in value. That's not fiction, that's reality. Now think about what this means. This coin is more than a collectible. It's a treasure chest in the palm of your hand. It's history, rarity, beauty, and fortune combined into one shining artifact. Owning it would be like owning a jewel that only gets brighter with age. So here's my collector's tip. Whenever you examine Buffalo nickels, especially from the 1920s, pay close attention to the mint mark. That tiny S placed on the reverse just below the denomination 5 cents is the key detail that separates common from extraordinary. And don't overlook unusual toning patterns like black dots, golden halos, or rainbow sheens. These natural transformations add personality and value that ordinary coins can never achieve. Handle a 1925S carefully. Store it properly. Protect it with everything you have, because coins like this are not just artifacts. They're treasures that future generations will fight to own. The 1925S Buffalo nickel with black dot toning isn't just a piece of metal. It's a story forged in America's roaring 20s. It's a relic that has survived the test of time, and it's a fortune in today's hands. The kind of fortune that could change lives, build legacies, and secure futures. Next up, we've already uncovered 3 Buffalo nickels worth life-changing fortunes, and yet the story only grows more powerful as we turn the page to coin number 4. This one takes us all the way back to the early years of the Buffalo nickel series. A time when America was changing, when design innovation clashed with production challenges, and when history itself was struck into metal. What we're looking at now is the 1916 Buffalo nickel without a mint mark, carrying mysterious black spot toning and surviving in what collectors call an unclear condition. At first, you might wonder, how could a coin in less than perfect clarity be worth a staggering fortune? Well, let me take you back in time. The year is 1916. The First World War is raging overseas. America is standing at the edge of global involvement. And here at home, the US. Mint is still getting used to James Earl Fraser's bold design of the Buffalo nickel, first introduced just 3 years earlier in 1913. This design was unlike anything Americans had seen before. Raw, powerful, distinctly national. The Native American profile wasn't a generic face, but a composite of real tribal leaders, embodying the spirit of a people. On the reverse, the American bison stood proud, a symbol of strength, wilderness, and survival. Now here's where things get truly fascinating. In 1916, nickels were primarily struck at the Philadelphia Mint, and those pieces bore no mint mark. But the problem was not the design, it was the production. The Buffalo nickel's details were so intricate that they wore down quickly in circulation. Coins from this year vanished into wear almost immediately, Most examples you see today are flattened shadows of what they once were. That's why collectors are obsessed with any surviving examples from 1916 that still carry identifiable details, especially when paired with unusual toning features. And this particular coin, it has developed black spot toning over the course of more than a century. Those black marks aren't damage, they're natural oxidations, silent signatures of time that prove authenticity. Each spot tells a story of the environments this coin survived, from pocket to vault to display case. They make this specimen one of a kind. Now, let's talk about condition. Yes, it is described as unclear. That means it's not the razor-sharp, mint-bright coin we saw in earlier entries. But here's the shocking truth. When a coin is this rare, condition doesn't kill value. It creates mystique. Even in unclear condition, this 1916 no-mint mark Buffalo nickel is a must-have prize for collectors. Why? Because the demand far outstrips the supply. The scarcity is so extreme that collectors are willing to pay staggering amounts for any survivor. And here comes the part that will take your breath away. The current market value of this coin, the 1916 Buffalo nickel without mint mark, black spot toning, unclear condition, stands today at a jaw-dropping $198,000. That's not speculation. That's not myth. That's today's truth in the auction market. Nearly $200,000 for a 5-cent coin that once jingled in the pockets of ordinary Americans. Think about it. What was once change for a soda is now wealth enough to rewrite your destiny. And the value? It's rising. Slowly, steadily, relentlessly. These coins are not being minted anymore. Their numbers shrink every single year as time and accidents take their toll. Meanwhile, the demand among elite collectors grows stronger than ever. This is a recipe for skyrocketing prices. If it's worth nearly $200,000 today, imagine what tomorrow could bring. Wait for time, and you'll see this treasure become even more untouchable. Now let me give you a tip for collectors. Whenever you see a Buffalo nickel from 1916, stop and study it carefully. Don't dismiss it just because the condition looks unclear or the details are faint. Look at the surfaces, the toning, the originality. Coins from this year, especially without a mint mark, carry immense historical weight. And unusual features like black spot toning only increase their individuality and desirability. Protect these coins. If you find one, you're not just holding a piece of currency. You're holding a time capsule from 1916, forged in a world on the brink of change and carrying a financial value that can rival treasures locked in vaults. So let's be clear, the 1916 Buffalo nickel without mint mark isn't just a coin. It's a living relic of America's story. It's a survivor that even in unclear condition commands 6 figures. It's proof that history and fortune can exist in the palm of your hand. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, treasure hunters and coin lovers, we've already seen fortunes revealed in this journey of Buffalo nickels. From the mysterious black dot toning of earlier coins to the uncirculated brilliance of Denver strikes, each piece has brought us closer to the heart of numismatic gold. And now, with coin number 5, we arrive at yet another breathtaking relic, one forged in a time when America was battling through the storm of the Great Depression. This is the 1934 Buffalo nickel with the Denver D mint mark, found in very fine condition. Let's begin with history. The year 1934 was a year of struggle and rebuilding. The nation was clawing its way back from the devastation of the 1929 crash. Millions were out of work, and the government was launching programs to put people back on their feet. Every nickel counted, literally. And into that environment came the Buffalo nickel, a coin that had already become iconic. Designed by James Earl Fraser, the coin carried the powerful portrait of a Native American on the obverse and the mighty bison on the reverse, a symbol of resilience, endurance, and American grit. The Denver Mint, identified by its small D mint mark, was tasked with producing part of the 1934 nickel supply. But here's the secret that only collectors know. While millions were struck, very few survived the brutal grind of circulation. These coins lived hard lives in pockets, cash registers, and bags of change. By the time most of them resurfaced decades later, they were worn down to shadows of their former selves. That's what makes this very fine condition specimen so electrifying. In this grade, you can still see crisp details: the Native American's cheekbone, the feathers, the strong profile. On the reverse, the buffalo's horn and hump are still defined. It's not mint state, but it's far above the average worn-down survivor. This is the sweet spot for collectors: strong detail, solid preservation, and clear evidence of its original artistry. And here's what makes it even more special. The Denver Mint issues from the 1930s are fiercely collected. That tiny D adds a layer of rarity and desirability that separates this coin from its Philadelphia cousins. In very fine condition, the 1934 D becomes a centerpiece, a must-have for anyone building a serious Buffalo nickel collection. Now the part that sets the stage on fire, the value. Friends, the 1934 D Buffalo nickel in very fine condition is commanding an incredible $150 and $500 in today's market. That's right, over $150,000 for a coin that started life as 5 cents in Depression-era America. Imagine the irony. In a time when families were stretching every nickel to survive, one of those nickels now stands tall as a 6-figure fortune. That's the power of rarity, history, and collector passion colliding into one. And here's the truth: this value is not stagnant. The market for high-quality Buffalo nickels is alive, electric, and growing. The $150 and $500 valuation is already reality today, and it will only rise as demand tightens and available specimens disappear. Wait for time, and you'll see this treasure climb higher. This is not a passing fad. This is the solid, faithful truth of numismatics. Here's a collector's tip. Always keep an eagle eye out for Buffalo nickels from the early to mid-1930s. Especially those with mint marks. The small D can make all the difference. Combine that with condition, very fine or higher, and you're holding a coin that isn't just history, it's fortune itself. The 1934 D Buffalo nickel proves something powerful, that even in an era when America was fighting to survive, treasures were quietly being created, treasures that now carry values that would have seemed unimaginable back then. Owning this coin is like holding a piece of Depression-era struggle transformed into a beacon of wealth today. So never underestimate what's in your hands, friends. A single coin can carry the weight of history, the scars of time, and the promise of a financial treasure chest. The 1934 D Buffalo nickel, in very fine condition, is living proof. And here's the most exciting part. We're not finished yet. That was coin number 5. One final entry remains on our list, and believe me, it's the climax of this entire treasure hunt. If you've been shocked so far, brace yourself, because coin number 6 will push the limits of rarity, value, and sheer excitement beyond anything you've heard yet. Stay with me, because the finale is going to blow your mind. Next up, here we are, my friends. We've journeyed together through 5 extraordinary Buffalo nickels, each one a treasure, each one a fortune. But now, it's time for the grand finale. And believe me, This last coin is going to shake your imagination to the core. We're stepping into the year 1925, and we're looking at a coin that seems humble at first sight, but hides a fortune that could change your life forever. This is the 1925 Buffalo nickel without mint mark, carrying unusual brown layer toning and surviving in unclear condition. Now, you may be wondering, how could a coin with unclear condition possibly belong in the ranks of six-figure rarities? That's where the magic of history and scarcity reveals its power. Let's rewind to 1925. The US was in the middle of the roaring 20s, an age of jazz, rising industry, and roaring stock markets. The Buffalo nickel had already established itself as one of America's most iconic coin designs. Crafted by James Earl Fraser, the obverse portrait of a Native American was more than art. It was a tribute to the spirit of a people who shaped the nation. The reverse, the proud buffalo, stood as a testament to resilience and survival on the frontier. But here's the twist. This specific 1925 issue was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which means it carried no mint mark. And although millions were minted, the Philadelphia coins were circulated so heavily that very few high-quality survivors remain. By the time collectors started searching for them decades later, most had been worn down beyond recognition. Now let's focus on what makes this specimen unique: the brown layer toning. Over nearly a century, natural oxidation has given this coin an earthy, layered toning that makes it look as though time itself has painted across its surface. It's not a flaw, it's a fingerprint of history. These brown layers turn an ordinary survivor into an extraordinary collectible. They give the coin character, depth, and individuality. No two coins with this toning are alike, making this particular 1925 nickel a one-of-a-kind artifact. And here's the shocking truth. Condition is not the only king in numismatics. Rarity and uniqueness rule just as strongly. Even in unclear condition, the survival of a 1925 no-mint mark nickel with such distinctive brown layer toning is so extraordinary that it commands an audience of elite collectors ready to open their vaults for it. So now, the moment of truth, the value. Brace yourself. The 1925 Buffalo nickel without mint mark, with brown layer toning in unclear condition, commands a jaw-dropping $163,000 in today's auction market. Yes, you heard me right. $163,000. For a coin that most people would glance at and dismiss as worn. But collectors, they see it for what it truly is, a treasure chest disguised as 5 cents. And the market? It's not standing still. The value of this coin is rising day by day, year by year. Every time one of these rare survivors is locked away into a private collection, the available supply gets smaller and the demand only burns hotter. That means the $163,000 price tag we see today could very well soar higher tomorrow. Wait for time, and you'll see this treasure gain even more power. That is not fiction, that is the truth. So here's my tip for collectors. Never underestimate coins in unclear condition. Too many people pass them over. But often, those coins carry toning patterns, minting quirks, or historical significance that make them priceless in the eyes of serious collectors. Always study the details, the colors, the layers. Sometimes what looks like imperfection is actually the very thing that drives value through the roof. The 1925 Buffalo nickel without mint mark, brown layer toning, unclear condition is living proof that treasures don't always shine with perfect clarity. Sometimes they whisper their value through scars of time, and those whispers turn into fortunes when collectors recognize their worth. And that, my friends, brings us to the end of our journey. 6 Buffalo nickels. 6 stories of history, survival, and jaw-dropping value. Each one worth not just money, but a fortune, a treasure chest that could change a life overnight. But remember this, the world of rare coins is vast. Every day, new discoveries come to light, new treasures are pulled from jars, collections, and attics. And here on True Coin Value, we bring you the facts, the stories, and the truths, faithfully, trustfully, and freshly every single day. So if you want to stay ahead of the game, if you want to know which coins could be hiding fortunes in plain sight, make sure you're part of this journey. Subscribe now, share this video, and join the community of treasure hunters who know the truth. Sometimes, the smallest coin can hold the biggest fortune.